Welcome to the Really Good Travel Guide TV show. My name is John Fletcher and, like many of you, I am a traveller with a disability who loves seeing the world from a different angle. Each episode, I share hints and tips on how to make your next adventure more accessible. In this episode, I'm talking to Rolando Aedo from the Greater Miami Convention and Visitor Bureau. And with me now, I've got Rolando Aedo. I hope I've got that right.
That's great, John. Thank you for having me. Really, really appreciate that.
It's a great pleasure. And you're from the Greater the Greater Manchester, Greater Miami Convention and Visitor Bureau. And Miami is just one of those cities, isn't it, that is so, it goes beyond the expectations.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny you mentioned that, John. I had the privilege of being in Manchester a few months back, and I would say the same thing about your beautiful city, Manchester. I hadn't been there, and it definitely exceeded my expectations. So I think right off the bat we have a lot in common. So I'd love to share more to your listeners as well.
Lovely, lovely. But I think everybody thinks of Miami as just being South Beach, and as the name suggests, Greater Miami, you have got so much more than just the South Beach.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when Greater Miami, which is also called Miami-Dade County. So just a quick geography lesson, you know, of course, U.S., 50 states. Each state is then divided up into typically counties, or in some states they call them parishes. In Florida, we have 67 counties. And Miami-Dade County, which is what we call Greater Miami, which is what we promote, is actually one of those 67. But within Miami-Dade County, you actually have 34 different cities, including Miami Beach, which is home to South Beach. The city of Miami is a separate city across the causeway, not too far away. Within the city of Miami, you have some great neighborhoods that we'll talk about in a moment. But yes, that is definitely something that we love to share, that Greater Miami is a very diverse community, home to about 3 million residents, and it spans very diverse from the beach to farms 40 minutes from South Beach. So it's a very, very diverse destination.
And it's such a beautiful one as well. I went just before the pandemic, and I flew into Miami Airport, which is probably one of the best airports I've ever been in. They found me an accessible cab straight away, which doesn't happen in this country all that often. But it was so nice to, they just found me straight away an accessible taxi, which took us to our hotel. I have to say I was really lucky because we were staying out at Sunny Isles Beach.
Yeah, and Sunny Isles Beach is in the northern part of Miami-Dade County, one of our 34 cities. And actually, Sunny Isles Beach is for those that are looking for, number one, a beachfront experience, and it's blessed. It has our only fishing pier that juts out into the Atlantic Ocean. And if you go back in time, and I've been in Miami most of my life, and I've been with the organization for almost 30 years. So I've seen the evolution of different parts of our community. But Sunny Isles Beach, just a handful of years ago, was a bunch of, budget motels, 1-2-story buildings. And as you probably experienced when you got there, now it's gleaming high rises and resorts. And it's actually home to what has been consistently voted as the best beach resort in the United States, the Aquilina, which is in Sunny Isles Beach. So I don't know where you stayed, but probably nearby was the Aquilina.
Oh, I stayed at the Newport Beach, which has a wonderful history.
Oh my goodness! I grew up, John, going to the Newport when I was a young tyke. Our family would stay at the Newport, especially over the holiday weekends, the long weekends, and I have so many fond memories of the Newport Beach Resort, because that is one of the hotels, thankfully, that has survived the transformation, and as I mentioned, is home to the fishing pier.
Yes, yeah, it's literally at the end of the within 100 yards of the hotel, so it's very good for getting to the pier. One of the things I loved about the Newport Beach is its history. You know, you've got it. If you're into your rock music and your pop music, then that is one of the places to stay. I understand Tina Turner used to play there.
Yeah, it's amazing because Newport is one of several hotels that are along our beachfront coast that have been home to a lot of amazing performers. So whether it's Tina Turner at the Newport, the Rat Pack going back a little further back, they played around a lot of our hotels, whether it was the Fountain Blue or the Eden Rock, and even some of our iconic Art Deco hotels, and which is a very accessible, friendly part of South Beach, and I know we're going to talk more about that and other parts of our community. I am very encouraged and heartened to hear that your airport experience was very accessible, friendly. I know that our airport has made a massive commitment to accessibility on all fronts, not just physical accessibility. Because for us, it's a broad spectrum of making sure that our destination is as inclusive as possible. They recently not only have been implementing a lot of physical accessibility infrastructure improvements, but they opened up a sensory room now as well. And,
wow.
And neurodivergence and autism is something that we're also very keen on expanding as part of our commitment to inclusivity.
Yeah, as I say, it's so easy to get an accessible taxi from Miami Airport. You literally just queue up with everybody else, and the guy in charge of the queue was busy hailing a cab for us, and I think we were in the cab within about 10 minutes.
Great to hear.
Yeah, so if we look at Sunny Isles for a start, we've talked about the Newport Beach. I think one of the great things is it's a distance out of Miami Central, but it's just within a bus ride. And when I say a bus ride, I mean a public bus. And your public buses are absolutely amazing.
Yeah, no, and again, another commitment, and we have our current mayor who's been in office a couple of years and is going through. She has made a massive commitment to expand our public transportation system. We do not have a metro or a tube system like you do over in the UK, but we have a limited rail service. But in terms of our bus system, it has dramatically expanded, and in fact, we are now receiving a next shipment of very environmentally friendly buses that are using their electric or their liquid propane, natural gas. So that is something that is very important for us. And then, in addition to our larger public bus systems, and I believe you experienced this firsthand, we have several free trolley systems that are smaller circulators that are also very accessible, friendly, and free for that matter, that we do operate in a lot of our tourism-friendly parts of our community.
The one thing I would say is, if you're staying in Sunny Isles, do take the public bus into the city, because you will go past some of the most amazing sights. You see the port, you'll see Indian Creek, which I absolutely love, because it was all the very elegant looking villas, and it was with all the very nice motorboats and powerboats outside.
We take it for granted because we live here, but you're absolutely right. If you can get on a bus, You can go from Sunny Isles and you head due south. You are literally going along what's called Collins Avenue or A1A, and you are, getting a front row seat to a lot of our amazing hotels, our waterfront, amazing parks, and it gives you a really good perspective on the variety of experiences that you can easily enjoy. And literally, our public bus system helps make it easy.
Yeah, and another good thing is, if there's two of you in a wheelchair, there's no worries because you can get two wheelchairs onto the bus, which is something we're not used to in Britain. So politicians, I know you're all listening, because you all want our vote at the moment. Make sure that you have 2 spaces for wheelchairs on the buses. Take notice of me. But yeah, but once you get into central Miami, you've got the Art Deco, and that is the most beautiful. And as you said, it is so accessible as well.
Yeah, and the Art Deco district, which is the largest collection of Art Deco architecture in the world, and unlike what you'll find in obviously some other major cities, but these are primarily limited story, 2, 3, 4-story hotels that were built back in the 20s, and they're in a variety of pastel colors, of course, and it's your front row to Ocean Drive, and then just beyond Ocean Drive, you've got our amazing Atlantic Ocean. So I will tell you, it is the quintessential South Beach experience, is to stay at an Art Deco boutique hotel on Ocean Drive to enjoy South Beach. And it has great scale, and whether you're in a wheelchair or a pedestrian and want to walk around, it is designed pedestrian and accessible first. So it is quite easy to navigate, which makes it great for all.
Yeah, there's so many drop curbs. It makes life so much easier. And just to go through the park on Ocean Drive is just absolutely fantastic. I do warn people that they have to take a camera with them, or at least make sure that they are taking lots of photos, because believe me, they will take them. I know I think it was something like 100 photos. And that was in just one day. My partner kept telling me, put the phone down, put your camera down.
Now, I got to tell you, the people watching, and the park you're mentioning, Loomis Park, which is that park right in front of Ocean Drive, has a very beautiful seawall, nice wide concrete, where whether you're on wheelchairs or skateboards or just walking, really provides a great promenade to enjoy not only the beach and the foliage, but of course the people watching, which ranges from every type of background and body type. So it's quite an interesting experience.
Yeah, it's one of those places where you look at it and you see it in films and TV programs, and you think that looks glamorous. It can't be as glamorous as that. Believe me, if you're sat having lunch at one of the restaurants on Ocean Drive, you will find it is as glamorous. You will see probably more Ferraris and Porsches and Rolls Royces than I've ever seen in an hour, of having lunch. And, you bump into, people who are literally learning, about, you learn about all sorts of different cultures as well.
Yeah, and in fact, right there on Ocean Drive, shifting from exotic cars at 10th and Ocean Drive, which is where we have a visitor center, and right behind the visitor center is where our lifeguard station is, and that's where you can pick up wheelchair accessible, for the wheelchairs for the beaches right there, and Most of our duned access do have wheelchair-friendly mats so that people can get out there to the beach itself. And hopefully you experienced some of that when you were here last time.
Oh yes, I actually dipped my toe into the water, which is something I don't normally do.
It wasn't too cold though. Our water, unlike what you probably have up in your neck of the woods, our water tends to be warm year round. Was it?
Yes, yeah, it was warmer than I'm used to.
I'm sure.
But the nice thing is, you've got along Ocean Drive, you've got some fabulous restaurants, and most of them are wheelchair accessible. I noticed that people would actually if they saw somebody with a wheelchair wanting to eat there, and they couldn't get them up the stairs, it was no problem to put a table out, and that's how friendly the area is. It's
and look, we Miami for many years now, going back probably to the 20s, was founded on hospitality and tourism, and we recognize and are so grateful for visitors, a variety of visitors. And Ocean Drive, as you noted, yes, it's a collection of boutique hotels, but most of the restaurants have sidewalk cafes, which once again makes it very accessible, friendly. And so you'll have options of being literally right on the sidewalk, and then you can, in other cases, go up inside the hotel, and they'll have restaurants within their lobby spaces as well.
The one thing that I have to ask you about is, Miami is known for the Miami Dolphins and the sport, and I know somebody's going to ask me, what about the sport? Can we get into the stadiums?
Yeah, so our main stadium it's called Hard Rock Stadium. That's the current, and it's home to the Miami Dolphins. By the way, it is also home to the Miami Open, which is our premier tennis match. It will also be home to all the World Cup soccer games in 2026, and they host a variety of international soccer games there as well, and of course concerts and other entertainment. And we work with the ownership and the management quite closely, and they too have made massive investments on accessibility way beyond what's required by our local law, because obviously we have minimum requirements, and they have gone above and beyond. They just got their LEED Gold certification, so they are equally committed to sustainability. So they are a very civic-minded ownership group, led by Stephen Ross and the whole team up there. And as I mentioned, there are other facilities, but they are the gold standard, not only within Miami, but frankly within the United States, of their commitment to accessibility and to sustainability as well.
And you've got so many wonderful art galleries in Miami as well, haven't you?
We do, and art. Going back to where you started, art perhaps wasn't something. Arts and culture perhaps wasn't something that was naturally associated with Miami, because the brand of sun and fun has been so powerful for so many years. But within the last 20 years, the explosion of arts and culture has been phenomenal. So yes, we have world-class arts and culture facilities, performance halls, a variety of resident companies. Tonight I'm going to the opening of Les Miserables at our Performing Arts Center, and then galleries. We are now home to what is considered the premier modern art festival in North America. It's called Art Basel, that you may be familiar with, and they have a version in Basel, Switzerland, and throughout the globe. But over the last 20 years, the explosion of arts and culture and galleries, and not just in one part of Miami, but throughout Miami, and in fact, in some of our most eclectic neighborhoods that were perhaps industrial warehousing districts in the past, are now home to some of the hippest, coolest art galleries. And quite often you will find gallery nights throughout Greater Miami, people tiptoeing from one gallery to the other, of course, with a fine glass of wine in hand.
Oh, that's de rigueur, you've got. But what I love about Miami is that the art is not just in the galleries; it's out on the street. If like me, you love street art, you will love Miami because there's some of the best street art, that stuff that everybody recognizes from photographs and Instagram. It's literally, you turn a corner and you go, I recognize that piece.
It is literally jumping off the walls, and the epicenter of our street art scene in Miami is a neighborhood called Wynwood, which again we feel is very accessible, friendly, and hopefully you had that experience as well. But Wynwood, as I said earlier, just 15, 20 years ago was a desolate industrial warehouse district that frankly you didn't go there after certain hours because there was no need to. And now it is the epicenter of our creative energy in Miami. And there's one group in particular, Tony Goldman was the chair of our board many years ago, and he was one of the early developers of that area. And he was so passionate about placemaking in neighborhoods, and he felt that art and street art in particular was one way to create that energy that many have experienced, and is now one of our top attractions. Is when you go to Wynwood Walls, which is what they manage, and they curate, and they bring in world-class street artists and muralists to decorate the exterior of all these buildings, and it is quite the experience, and it attracts people from throughout the globe.
And the nice thing is, you go back the next time,
and it's different.
It doesn't stay, static. It's always changing, and I think one of the things that I also associate with Wynwood is its very famous brewery.
Oh yeah. I think one helps the other, right? So a couple of pints perhaps unleashes your inner creative spirit.
Yeah. But Wynwood isn't the only one. There's lots of different little craft breweries all around Miami. So if you're a craft beer fan, Miami is seriously a place to go to. So, and of course, there's a big Cuban community within Miami as well.
Yeah, there is, and I actually, my parents are from Cuba originally, and they left back in the '60s and came to this amazing country. We're in Norfolk, Virginia for a couple of years. That's where I was born, and then of course came to Miami. So I have a personal connection to that legacy, and yes, there are some parts of Miami, and not surprisingly, one is called Little Havana, which has now again become, like Wynwood, one of the most vibrant, exciting, interesting neighborhoods within Greater Miami, and there you'll get to explore. Yes, you have lots of galleries, but Cuban culture is also renowned for its music and food. So you will be able to experience some amazing restaurants, some amazing nightclubs, and you will walk away feeling, albeit briefly, immersed in all things Cuban culture. And it is one of our unique propositions when those folks come to Miami to experience everything we have to offer.
If you're not twirling your wheelchairs coming out of Little Havana, there is something wrong.
Well, look, I mean, it's hard to sit still, whether you're fully able or not. When you start hearing some of the salsa and that Latin music, I think anybody in any capacity is going to start, moving back and forth and really enjoying that moment, because it really compels you to absorb and savor the notes of that culture.
Yeah, it's certainly a place that you need to go. And if one of my tips is always, if you're looking for a good hearty lunch, go for a Cuban sandwich.
Well, and by the way, if you're feeling a little low on energy, the other thing you can savor is our famous Cuban coffee, which is an espresso, very, very strong, strong espresso that is equal parts coffee, equal parts sugar. So when you combine the caffeine with the sugar, it'll definitely give you a nice little jolt that will carry you for a couple of hours, if not the whole day.
That explains why I could not keep up with a guy in a manual wheelchair when I was in my electric wheelchair. I couldn't keep up with him. He must have had one of those.
It's a lot of it's great fuel. It definitely is.
Certainly wakes you up in the morning. And there's the fitness aspect as well. If you're into your fitness, then there's a particular area in Miami that you have to go.
Well, being an outdoor community, and we're blessed with great weather. Most of the year, you can go out there, and it'll be 70s or 80s. So being outdoors, doing physical activities, taking advantage of not only of our ocean, because we've talked about the beach, but also our bay. So for those of you that may not be familiar, Miami actually also has an inland bay, which is home to amazing water sports. We are actually home to a really successful, nationally recognized program for the physically challenged when it comes to sailing. It's called Shake a Leg, and it is considered one of the top sailing programs in the United States for people that are in wheelchairs, and anybody can participate, whether you're a visitor or a resident. And it's right next to home of the U.S. sailing training facility. So that is something that some folks may not be aware, that Miami has a lot of these amenities for residents, for visitors, that allows everyone to enjoy some of the things that Miami has to offer.
One of the things that I absolutely love about Miami is that it's also a great starting point for some of the for the cruisers. And you look at the wonderful cruise terminals.
Yeah, we are officially the cruise capital of the world. When you look at the number of passengers, all the cruise lines, all the major cruise lines were actually born in Miami, and they're based in Miami, whether it's Royal Caribbean, Carnival, obviously MSC, Norwegian. They all have massive presences in Miami, and they have all built brand new, beautiful terminals just next to the causeway connecting Miami Beach. And we've added a bunch of other cruise lines as well, including, Virgin is now cruising in and out of Miami. Yep. So that brings it home to the UK folks. But it is something quite unique to see. So we are blessed that we are the cruise capital of the world. A lot of the folks that come on cruises, we encourage to spend a few days pre or post to enjoy some of the things that we've been talking about. But needless to say, our port is very accessible, friendly. And the cruise lines, of course, recognize how important it is for them to do the same. It's not just the right thing to do. Frankly, it's a good business decision for them as well. And one of the things that we just announced regarding our port, and again, we feel that anything that we can celebrate when it comes to accessibility and sustainability, we just announced what they call shore power. So those cruise ships that now call on Miami, they don't have to keep their engines running, and they're cutting down on pollution, so they can plug in like a big EV, electric vehicle. They can now plug into our port and run off electricity versus the engines that they typically would have to.
I was so pleased you mentioned Virgin, because I'm very proud to boast that my assistance dog was the first assistance dog on Virgin voyages.
Oh,
she is a bit of a legend.
Oh, wow. Well, did Sir Richard send you a personal thank you note or something?
No, he actually met her.
Oh my goodness! Wow. Yeah, I've had the pleasure of meeting him over the years. As you know, Virgin is an important partner for us, not only on the cruise front but on the airline front. So he he's been very active and very supportive of Miami. So we are appreciative of that.
So what another area we've got to talk about, otherwise certain of our listeners will never forgive me. We've got to talk about the shopping, because shopping is so integral in Miami.
It is, and it's funny. Many stories go that people obviously, one of their first stops when they go shopping in Miami is actually to a suitcase store because they want to buy empty suitcases to fill them up to take them back home with all sorts of purchases. So, yeah, we are considered one of the top shopping destinations in the U.S., if not in the world. We have a variety of shopping experiences. Yes, you have your traditional malls that you'll find in the United States. We've got, of course, the infamous outlet malls, a variety of those, not too far away from Miami. And of course, we have lots of luxury shopping options as well. In fact, one of the not too far from Sunny Isles, there's you may have mentioned Bal Harbor, which is a very high-end part of our community, and they have a very high-end shopping mall. But next to Wynwood, which is that arts hub that I mentioned, you've got what's now called the Design District, which rivals anywhere in the world when it comes to high-end retail, whether it's Rodeo Drive or Worth Avenue in Palm Beach. The collection of name brand designer boutiques back to back to back are all concentrated in what we now call our Design District. So yes, lots of shopping options. And then there's a lot of great small neighborhoods that have very localized products. I mentioned Little Havana. We have Little Haiti as well. We have a proud Caribbean Haitian heritage. So we have the Caribbean Marketplace where you can purchase small arts and crafts from the various cultures that call Miami home.
That's great. All the malls, they are so wheelchair friendly. So easy to get around. It is. If you don't come out with a designer bag or a designer shirt, then I don't think you're trying.
Absolutely.
So yeah. So I'm going to ask you now for some really quick tips.
Sure.
Where do you think is the best accessible hotel to stay in?
Well, there's so many different types of hotels, and I'll give you some specific tips in a moment. But, I think you have to start off by what type of an experience are you looking for? So if you're looking for what I'm going to consider a large, resort style experience, then I will tell you that the Fontainebleau is our most iconic beachfront resort. It's got 1,300 rooms, and they too have an extensive commitment to accessibility and will deliver on the expectations, and we work with them quite closely. If on the other side of the spectrum, you are looking for what we spoke of earlier, and a more intimate Art Deco experience, you want to be there on Ocean Drive. There's one hotel in particular. There are so many wonderful hotels. The Betsy Hotel is ironically one of the hotels on Ocean Drive that is not Art Deco architecture. It's actually colonial architecture.
It's the only one.
It's the only boutique hotel on Ocean Drive that is not Art Deco architecture. In fact, it's colonial architectural. The name Betsy is actually named after Betsy Ross, which was a very prominent heroine during our Revolutionary War. We won't get into detail on that,
Nope.
but it's a great property, and not only is it very accessible, friendly, they have made a massive commitment to culture. So you can go there and really experience a variety of things. Wynwood, by the way, which until last year did not have any hotels. So if you're looking to really be strongly connected with that street mural scene that we mentioned, there's a new hotel called the Arlo that opened up within the Wynwood Arts District, and you can literally go into that property, very accessible, friendly, and literally blocks away, be immersed and be surrounded by this amazing street art that we mentioned earlier. The other property that I would mention, that, and it's a neighborhood that we haven't talked about a lot, but is our oldest neighborhood in Miami, is actually called Coconut Grove.
Yes.
And Coconut Grove was actually founded before the city of Miami was founded in 1896. It was founded by Bahamian settlers, so it's the oldest part of our community. So you'll see some great history there. And they have a hotel that just went through a massive renovation, the Mayfair House, which is right in the heart of the village, because it's called the Village of Coconut Grove, because it's that quaint. It's got a great scale, very accessible, friendly, pedestrian friendly as well. And it's located just footsteps away from our bay and a lot of those sailing experiences that I mentioned earlier. So you've got some great options. If you Google accessible travel, you're going to come up with our webpage that has some great additional recommendations as well. But we encourage you to explore and make decisions based on what you feel you want to experience.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite restaurant?
Wow, and I will tell you, well, if you come to Miami, you have to experience Cuban food at some point, right? So, if you would ask most people, what is the quintessential Cuban restaurant experience that everyone, regardless of your situation, should experience, it's Versailles. Ironically, it's a Cuban restaurant named after a French palace. And John, I don't know if you had a chance to visit there or know of it, but it's located near Little Havana in the heart of the city. And it's nowhere nearly as ostentatious as Versailles, the French palace, but it does have a lot of mirrors inside, and it's got amazing Cuban food. And it also happens to be the epicenter of Cuban politics, which plays a very prominent role in Miami, not surprisingly. So, for example, when some new candidate wants to, catch the ear of the Cuban community, they'll make their announcements at this restaurant. That's how popular and how iconic it has become, in addition to its great food.
Okay. Now, are you a South Beach fan or a North Beach fan?
Well, it's interesting because South Beach is high energy. We've talked about some of the amazing architecture and history. It's, the people watching is amazing. Arguably, if you want to see or be seen, that's, South Beach is the place. Very cosmopolitan, sidewalk cafes. North Beach, much more laid back. It's a very laid back experience. Miami is family friendly in general, but as you go north on our northern beaches, it becomes even that much more so. So again, it really depends on the vibe. Depending on my mood, I will go to South Beach or I'll go to North Beach, and I'm sure that applies to just about anybody else as well.
That was a very diplomatic answer.
Hey, I work for a tourism office. It comes with the job.
That's almost like asking a Mancunian, are you a City fan or are you a Man United fan? Whichever way you answer, you're always going to be in trouble with someone.
You're here.
So thank you ever so much, Rolando, for chatting with us. It's been an absolute pleasure. I cannot wait to get back to Miami. I think I'm going to have to tap you up for a familiarization visit.
we would love to host you and your partner and more and all your listeners. Please consider Miami as a great destination on all fronts. And again, the perception of what we are and what we offer is constantly expanding and very dynamic. So please, we look forward to welcoming you all.
Thank you ever so much for your time, because I know you're a busy guy and you've taken time out of your day to talk to us today. I'm so jealous that I can't just roll down Ocean Drive tonight.
Well, when you make it back, I will be at your side. I promise. So I look forward to it.
And I promise I won't try and race anybody in a Ferrari.
Here, here.
So thank you ever so much. Have
All
a great evening.
You too. Thanks again. Bye-bye.